Hey everybody, it's Mike, and today on Chip Damage, we're going back into the vault. Yes, we'll be taking a look at even more collector's editions that I was able to find deep in my library, my collection of games. These are some titles that I haven't had a chance to talk with you about. I thought it'd be a good time to share some of these with you and give you a viewing of the contents of some of these collector's editions. So particularly, these are from the Xbox 360, PS3 era of games. And these editions in particular are the 360 versions. However, all of these were also released on PS3 with the exact same content as was the style at the time. So without further ado, let's jump into these and talk about some more games. So to begin, let's start with a game that I hate. Why not? Let's start with the collector's edition of this game, Ninja Gaiden 3. For context, I'll provide some context with all of these games. This came out in 2012, the follow-up to Ninja Gaiden 2, 1 and 2 being some of the greatest action games of all time. Ninja Gaiden is one of my favorite series of all time. I was hyped for this. I was a little worried the director, Tomonobu Itagaki, who recently passed, was no longer at the head of this. I was worried that it might not be as good. And I was right, but it wasn't not just as good. This was awful. This is a terrible, terrible video game. And a year later, it would be re-released with extra content, more like remixed, with Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, which is a much better game, but it's still only like a relatively good game. But this was garbage. This was like an incomplete mess. It was boring. But I was a sucker, and I made sure I got the collector's edition of this game. Yeah, so here we go. The vanilla Ninja Gaiden 3 collector's edition. Yeah. So what did this come with? As you can see, mine is a little sun damage on the front there. But let's just take a look at the outer packaging real quick. And good God, this was not fun. I mean, I don't know if it's the worst Ninja Gaiden game because Ninja Gaiden Yaiba is out there. And that was complete. That was like a finished product and it was still awful. This was like just like a rushed mess that they tried to redeem. So I don't know. What do you guys, for those who have played both, Ninja Gaiden Yaiba or Ninja Gaiden 3? I was able to finish Yaiba. That's one of the worst games I ever forced myself to finish. This vanilla version, I couldn't finish this game. I never finished it until Razor's Edge came out later. But there was no collector's edition of that one, sadly. That game was still only, like I said, just good, not amazing. But let's remove this outer box and get to the meat and potatoes of this. All right, so we have our diorama box right there, which we'll get to in a second. But this came with some minor things as well. It came with the soundtrack for this game. I don't remember a single piece of music from this. And strangely, this has no back. It feels very cheap. This is still sealed, but that's how it is. It has no back listings. It's just like the front card there with the disc. Okay. And it also came with a sizable art book, at least a tall art book. It's rather thin, but you know, you got your regular stuff, your character artwork, your concept artwork for weapons and enemies, you know, if you care to look. But this was kind of like the thing to do, right? You get your art book, figure, and soundtrack. That's like the de facto 360 era, and even to this day, somewhat collector's edition, right? The bells and whistles. So let's put that back for now and dive into the meat and potatoes of this collector's edition. All right, so this normally came with packaging plastic, which I still have, but for the sake of the video, I removed. And you get your two boys here. You have your Ryu Hayabusa figure with the hole through his chest. And you have the I forget what this villain's name is. I just don't care. But he was like the one who kind of like hounded Ryu throughout the whole game. So you have those two guys. They come with a plain black base to stand on with pegs for their feet and a like background to put them in front of them. The whole thing with this was that you were supposed to position them as such. You stab Ryu through the heart, and at the same time you chop this guy's shoulder down as Ryu, and you position them roughly as such. It doesn't look bad. For as bad as this game is, the collector's edition display is pretty cool. Like, you know, I've seen worse dioramas. It's a decent size. It's, at the base, you're looking at about 9 inches. It is about, the figures are about 7 inches tall, 6.5. And yeah, not the worst, but it makes me think of this game. So I never have this out. I don't want to think about this game. And I'm really glad that Ninja Gaiden 4 recently turned out pretty good. Does it reach the heights of Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2? Absolutely not. But it's still a pretty damn great game. And you had the release of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black earlier this year, which I do think was fantastic. Do I think it's as good as Vanilla Ninja Gaiden 2? But no. But it's still a really good release that outdoes the Sigmas in almost every way. And we have Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, the 2D game that came out earlier in the summer. So Ninja Gaiden's kind of having a renaissance because Ryu really needed it. Even though Ryu's not the main character in some of those games, but the series needed it because Ninja Gaiden 3 sucked and Yaiba sucked possibly even more. So that is the collector's edition of that bad game. Always fun to put those back. Let's talk about the collector's edition of a very, very good game. Let's talk about the little collector's edition for Batman Arkham City. Yes, a favorite of mine in this franchise. Probably this might be my favorite. Arkham Asylum and this go back and forth in my head, but I mean this was just such a much bigger game. Being able to play as Catwoman and Robin, and it was just so cool how they were able to extend the Metroidvania-esque style of Asylum out into an open city and not lose the nuance. Like it was still a very detailed-oriented game. So I decided to get the collector's edition, which, as you can clearly see, the main draw is a figure of Batman himself. Oh, this is quite dusty, which I have never actually removed, but it's actually a very weighty figure of the Dark Knight, looking pretty good. I'm gonna actually leave that because that is all tied in there. Never realized I never removed that because it looks good in the case, like just like that. It's about 6 inches tall. And there's a good weight to this black and white Arkham City style Batman. And with that, did do one thing I don't like though. The case of the game that it came with, and I really hate this. It did not come with the standard version of the game, like plastic case. It came with the disc in the art book itself. Yeah, I remember I couldn't find the disc for a second. The disc is back here in this mini art book, which is cool, by the way. It's got some concept art yet again, you know, your whole thing again, enemies, weapons, locations, what have you. That's fine, but I hate storing this. I want a plastic case to put my disc in. What can you do? Comes with a letter from the developers in the front, and it had a bunch of DLC codes for extra content. No true manual or anything like that, which is sad. This came with a slew of DLC at the time. And this game just ruled. I think this was the high point of the Arkham series, which is now truly dead. I mean, we'll get into it later, but with Gotham Knights underperforming and Suicide Squad being just awful and super underperforming, I don't know what DC is going to do, but they really need to get back on track with their games. I mean, the first two Rocksteady games are so fantastic. And since we just talked about a good Batman game with a little collector's edition, let's talk about a bad Batman game with a massive collector's edition. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We were talking about the Arkham Origins collector's edition. I have this sleeve up because it is so tight, it is hard to get off on occasion. I do not really like this game. This was the follow-up to Arkham Asylum. It was the third Arkham game released. However, it was not made by the same developers, Rocksteady, and you could really tell. This game was not super well received when it came out, and it has never been re-released like the other three games in the Rocksteady trilogy. Do I think it deserves that fate? Nah, I think all games deserve to get a little bit of a remaster and a re-release, especially because this was a big part of the history. This was developed by WB Games, and probably due to the fact that Arkham Knight, the third Rocksteady game, was taking a while to make. They wanted to fill that gap by releasing this 2 years after Arkham City and 2 years before Arkham Knight. So, of course, I got it, and I got this massive collector's edition. And, you know, I know that the opinion on this game has softened somewhat, but every time I try it, I don't like it. I don't like, I think it's Roger Craig Smith is the voice for Batman, who's the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog and Chris Redfield. Replacing Kevin Conroy, like it doesn't, I know it's supposed to be younger, doesn't sound as good. I don't like, I forget if it's not Nolan North for the Joker, it's Troy Baker. I'm not a huge Troy Baker guy. in comparison to Mark Hamill. But most importantly, it was like the gameplay, right? It didn't feel as good as those other games. It was similar, but like those other games had such a flow to them, and the combat was so snappy. And I would find myself missing enemies and punching the air in Arkham Origins, and it just felt janky. It didn't look quite as good. It was just the city again, but with snow. So like it was okay, but the story was also stupid. Like Batman met all his major villains in one night. And yet again, the Joker was pretty much the main villain in the first two games. Like it was the Joker in the first one. They said it was Hugo Strange / Ra's al Ghul in Arkham City. It was still the Joker. In this, it was promised to be Black Mask. It was Joker in disguise. And then it was Joker in Arkham. I got really sick of Joker in these games. But enough of that. What did this collector's edition come with? A lot of stuff. So obviously, this game came just like that. It came with a regular case with some DLC for like classic Batman and all that stuff, the code. It came with a DVD that I've never watched called Necessary Evil Supervillains of DC. I guess it is a documentary on the history of DC villains. It came with some fake evidence. Let's see. From Renee Montoya, you have a poker chip from the Gotham PD. And you have one of Killer Croc's tooth or claws, I would assume, right here. Those are kind of cool. You get like little fake evidence bags. You get this wanted poster for Batman, because this whole thing is like Batman has a bounty placed on him. You have a map drawn by Anarchy that glows in the dark of Gotham. You got a dossier folder with all the villains info on there. Let's see who we got in there. Oh, we got so much stuff in this. You made the cut, don't let me down. Let's move this over a little bit. So you got files on Lady Shiva, Killer Croc, 9'8". These stick pretty good. On Bane, Deathstroke, Killer Moth. Yeah, he fought all these guys in one night, by the way. That always drove me absolutely insane. Copperhead, the female Copperhead, and Deadshot, as well as Assassin Agreement, the contract on Batman's head, all this paperwork. This is actually kind of cool because these have some info on them, a lot of details. As a Batman fan, I enjoy this stuff. Do I buy that he fought and met half of these villains or all of these villains in one night? No, I do not. That's one of the reasons I don't like the story of Origins. It doesn't really feel like it syncs up well with the Arkham trilogy. You can almost, like, I guess it's canon, but it doesn't feel canon. I said, they don't even talk about this game anymore. But that's not the only things we got. We got a lot of stuff here. We also got another art book, as is the tradition at this point, with a family photo of the Waynes, Anarchy's logo, and a decent-sized art book, as you can see. Backgrounds, characters, the gist. We're gonna be seeing a lot of these art books, but that's not the meat of this collector's edition. What else did we get? A lot of packaging on this one. This is going to be a real bitch to get back. All right, I'm going to remove this carefully because this is what most people would have bought this for. That is a statue, and I know there's loose things on here, so I must be careful, of the Joker. Yes, this is actually pretty cool. It's a good-sized statue of the Joker in front of TV sets, kind of prepping for Batman's assassination. Not much to really say about it. It's of high quality, I must say. It looks good. It's not individually numbered or anything, but even though I was not a fan of this game, I gotta say I am a fan of this statue. And yeah, I remember the Arkham games. It's amazing to think the Arkham Asylum came out in 2009, and then 2 years later we got Arkham City, and it was such an expansive improvement, or at least a bigger world. I kind of go back and forth whether I like Asylum or not more than City. But the size difference was massive. And then that was only a 2-year gap. That would never happen these days. And then I guess with the advent of the next generation, Arkham Knight was taking too long to come out. So they pumped this out. And this, I wouldn't say it damaged the reputation of the Arkham games, but it didn't do much for it. No, like I said, kind of came and went. That's not too bad. Keep that all together. And then Arkham Knight in 2015. I'm not a tremendous fan of that one either, but it's better than this game in many, many ways. Let's put this all back. And then we had that huge gap where Gotham Knights came out. That was like a nothing game. Like, I played a little bit of it. It just doesn't stick with you, you know what I mean? And then we had Suicide Squad, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole because it's set in the Arkham universe. It does not mean it's an Arkham video game. So, unfortunately, I do think for the most part that this franchise is dead, but it had a good run. It had some amazing titles, and we really can't ask for more than that. This is fun to get back into the box, I must say. But let me guys know what you think. What would you like to see? Like, I remember there was talks about Batman Beyond game. I remember that so many people were kind of hoping that's what it would be. I would just like a game where you play as Batman again. Now, Gotham Knights, you didn't play as Batman. In Suicide Squad, you killed Batman, or so you thought. It was like a clone or something. So, yeah, there we go. Batman Arkham Origins. And we're moving on from our 2 Batman collector's editions. Let's move on to a very beloved game. We've talked about a bad game, great game, bad game. Let's talk about another great one. Mortal Kombat 2011. Yes, Mortal Kombat 9 is what we'll be talking about here. And this had a cool collector's edition that I think many of us are familiar with. It was... pop this up. This outer cover does not attach. It was a pair of bookends that came with it, along with a number of in-game extras. So as you remove this flimsy outer cover, you can probably see that a little better. You have this cool logo. You have the guys being tortured on the sides there, and the cool logo on the back. It came with some, just to start, some DLC. Came with an Ermac Classic costume, and if you remember Avatar stuff on your Xbox 360, it came with some custom Avatar skins of Scorpion and a guy wearing a t-shirt. Avatars, what were they thinking? Trying to ride that me high so much. All right, but let's get a look at the contents itself. So, extra content, yet again, surprise, surprise. We got another art book with backgrounds, characters, what have you. Concept. Run of the mill. This is a fair, it looks small. There's a lot of pages to this, I must say. And you got some info on all of them. Cool little book with this cool sleeve with Scorpion and the MK logo. They're really pushing Scorpion in that new era of Mortal Kombat, as is the case with what is in the collector's edition, which is going to be removed carefully, if it can be removed at all. There we go. So, there we go. After some wheeling and dealing, we got that out. And what do we have here? We have a sick-looking Scorpion and Sub-Zero pair of bookends. Yes. Both of these are still in there pretty firmly tight, so we'll not play with... There we go. I will play with them. So you can see right there, you have Sub-Zero getting destroyed by Sub-Zero's spear. There we go. Very tightly packaged. And these look great. These I have no issues with. You know, especially for collector's edition figures, you can really see the detail on their armor, on the backgrounds with the skull. Like, look at Scorpion's like arm patches, along with, or I'm sorry, Sub-Zero's arm patches, along with Scorpion over here with the swords on his back, looking cool. Supposed to put some books right or movies right in between that, and that's just awesome. I love this collector's edition. This game is fantastic. I have no qualms with that. Simple. 2 statues and an art book. Not much to say on that one. But there is something to be said about the next one. I bet this is going to be a pain to get out. And that is going to be the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim release. Yes, monumental release back in 11/11/11. This game took over the world. I mean, Morrowind was a smaller title in terms of popularity. Then Oblivion was massive. And then this game came over and just took over. This game is still getting re-released regularly today. But its original 360 PS3 release came with quite the collector's edition that maybe some of you are familiar with, but we'll be going over. So just to show, it had that slip special box cover. And it came with this very, very tightly packaged, so forgive me. Matte. Very tightly packaged, let me tell you. Skyrim itself. Look at that, looking pretty cool. Is it folded into enough squares? Good God, and it goes right back into it. So you got your bonus DVD disc in the background there, letting you like see the making of. And I forgot that this game had a proper color manual back in the day. It was something you didn't see a lot, especially near the end of the 360 generation. So I give it some props on that. But on this nice cardboard slipcase box with the Skyrim logo, Akatosh all over it. But that's just the game itself. This is what that came in. I just wanted to start with that. This enormous, I don't know, 15-inch box, this square, which takes up way too much space. Collector's edition. Epic Fantasy is Reborn. Look at that. It's got the whole kind of spiel of the back of the box right there. Let's open this. This is going to be fun. This game took over. I remember a little upset that this kind of overtook the styling of Elder Scrolls for a while. As in, like, Elder Scrolls Online is just like the whole Elder Scrolls planet with the Skyrim coat on top of it. I would like to see some of the weirder worlds. And just to say, the game came in this top fold here. Man, this thing is tall. Can you see me, guys? And then it came with this absolutely beautiful, and I'll move this out of the way for now, art book. This leather art book, which came in this plastic. This is incredible. This is one of the nicest books that's ever come with a video game that is leather, at least leather feeling. It looks aged. The Akatosh is raised, and yeah, this has what you would expect, though. You know, concept art, characters, backgrounds. I think every single one of these pretty much has had that. But the size and the feel of this book is truly something special. You know, I'll try to keep that one in the plastic. But if for anything else, if the other piece of content doesn't make, I believe this was $150 when it came out, this book felt expensive. It felt good to have. So even though Skyrim is not my favorite Elder Scrolls, and like I said, I'm upset that it took over kind of, like, it's not, people don't want the next Elder Scrolls. They want the next Skyrim, at least the normies, right? For whatever, maybe because Game of Thrones was popping, Skyrim, like, the normies really took to it. All right, but that is not all. In this enormous, and I'm going to put this back on the ground as I disassemble it. Slowly, slowly, slowly. All right. This I did have on display for quite a few years back in the day because it demanded it. Put that over there for now. And that's good. We have this box here with Akatosh's symbol on it. I like how this right here says this is not a toy, it is for display. You have the embossed styrofoam logo right there. I'll tell you this was probably Bethesda's last game before they started kind of sucking. Good game, I should say, before they started kind of sucking. And there we go, Alduin, the boss dragon from the game, looking sick right there. There's more to it than that, though. Let's put him down because he stands just like that. He has a base himself on which he rests. I believe there's no actual like hook. He just kind of goes on, and right there you got him. Look at that. Look how sick that looks. Just to show, this thing is sharp. There are edges everywhere. This cut yourself on this practically. It's a good. It's actually fair. The base is very light. The dragon himself is heavy, and you are looking at a roughly 14-15 inch statue, and that is one hell of a collector's piece. I hope if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, I hope number one it's good and it has something cool like this. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. Let's put Scorpion and Sub-Zero on the side right there on our latest collector's edition videos. Collector's editions are really for enthusiasts. I have no problem with them selling me junk overpriced because I'm making the choice to buy it. And even though it's still pretty fairly common today, the PS3 and 360 area was nuts with these. There were so many of these. As you can see, I have other videos just on those consoles. And I love them. These are like a blast. I can't believe that generation ended almost 15 years ago. It lasted forever. It was a big one. So I have lots of collector's editions from that era. And these are just a cool blast from the past. I mean, they're almost retro at this point, but man, were we getting a lot of cool stuff really fast back then. So without further ado, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please check out my older collection videos if you haven't already, and look forward to new content. Please do the YouTube stuff, like and subscribe, and please take care of yourself.